I think I'm having some sort of like mid-30s crisis. I used to be hot, I used to be young, I used to be up and coming.
You're incredibly beautiful. You're looking like in the form of your life.
I don't know if you should admit this sort of stuff. It's like secrets, isn't it? The crux of this, I've become obsessed with the rose in my garden.
Hi everyone, and welcome to episode 3 of season 2 of Running Loose. My name is, you should know by now, Francesca
And I'm Vanessa Royal.
And where do you find us this week? Well, if you're watching, you might see a nice set of colours behind us. They're David Maxwell colours actually, and some gorgeous wallpaper in a very kind of homely setting. But we're actually at a racecourse. We're at Windsor.
Yes, we are, for their Monday night racing. And we're in a very nice luxury lounge.
We're in the Fitzstairs box.
There you go, Fitzstairs box, drinking our Edinburgh Gin and tonic. And Monday, again, I just always feel, now that we've got Edinburgh Gin on board, I just keep reflecting on the fact that, like, I literally get paid, sort of, to drink gin and tonic
sort of.
and chat to you. I mean, it's joyous, right?
Well, we're covering our costs, let's face it, but we are very grateful to the team at Edinburgh Gin for helping us cover those costs. And this actually used to be Winston Churchill's box here.
Yeah, that's very cool. I like that. And he was a prolific owner, which I knew he was an owner, but I didn't realise quite how many winners. He had over 70 winners.
Yep.
And he had some of the top jockeys riding for him, of course.
Yeah.
Did you know that he cried all the time through the Second World War?
Every day.
I think a lot, yeah.
Because
apparently he used to cry when all the bad stuff was happening and when all the good stuff was happening. And my dad was telling me this recently because he wanted me to feel that it was okay to cry. And he said,
so Winston Churchill cried, so you can cry, Vanessa.
He said, you know, it's good to have a cry, Vanessa. Just have a cry sometimes. Winston Churchill cried all the time through the Second World War.
No.
Thanks, Dad.
Is everything okay?
Everything's fine, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know why he was, I don't know how we got onto that topic, but he was just saying that crying's good, which it is.
You seem to have a lovely kind of cozy relationship with your dad.
Yeah, we're close. I'm close with both my parents. But Dad's a real, I'm a cut of Dad.
Yeah?
Yeah, I think I'm very similar to Dad in a lot of ways.
That's nice.
Yeah.
We are actually here at Windsor, not only because it was quite a useful central point for us all to meet, but because you're helping me out this evening. You are helping me do a Royal Ascot preview for Old Gold Racing. And actually, I'm afraid you weren't our first choice. We did have Jason Weaver involved, but he's had to go off to the US because his son, Tyler, has qualified for the US Open. So we forgive Jason for not being here. He actually, I think, disappeared yesterday right after the Derby coverage. He's going to be back in time for Royal Ascot. This is we're going to kind of base our chat today around Royal Ascot because it's Monday, the 9th of June. This is going to be going out the Monday.
I love the fact you just have to check your phone because it's so bad.
So
with dates,
bad. I know.
Days, timings.
It just merges into one, doesn't it? So this is going out the Monday of Royal Ascot, and this time next week, we will literally be on the cusp of one of the busiest weeks of the year. Just to note, if you hear any funny noises in the background, like music playing, people coming in and out the door, it's because it is just before a race day here, so they're getting themselves all organised and set up.
Hopefully that's going to be all right. But yeah, in a week's time, we'll just be in chaos, basically.
In a week's time, I'm pretty much going to be here again because I'm going to be on a boat on the River Thames, kind of somewhere over there. Filming our Royal Ascot opener for ITV.
Which they put a lot of thought into.
Yes.
It's exciting.
I think the whole point is we're going to go along the Thames and end up at Windsor Castle.
Cool.
And then Windsor Castle is obviously the starting point for the Royal Procession. And I think it's 200-year anniversary of when they started doing the Royal Procession.
Oh, that's cool. That is cool. I mean, the Royal Procession, I always think, by the way, looks so uncomfortable.
For the people in it?
Yeah.
Well, you confessed in last podcast that you're not into the whole royal side of things.
No. I mean, I haven't changed on that from last week.
You're still not into it.
I'm still not into the royals.
Firmly not to be watching the Royal Procession.
Not for me. But when I look at them being bumped around in that little carriage, I just think it's just so funny.
I think they look like they have very kind of natural suspension in those carriages, with the enormous wheels, and then they've got those like lever suspensions.
Was your dad ever in one?
Yeah, a few times.
Did he say it was comfortable?
Yeah, I loved it. Great experience. Yeah,
I'm sure it's a great experience.
I didn't actually ask him if it was comfortable or not, but he didn't complain about it being uncomfortable.
Do you ever see occasionally when one of the horses goes absolutely mental? There was one that I love that and he clearly then gets absolutely biffed off for the rest of his career. He's not allowed to do the Royal Procession again.
Yeah.
Because there was one a couple of years back. It was a grey horse, and he must have got stung by a horsefly or something.
Oh, no.
And if you know horses, you can tell they're obviously having quite a out there reaction, and he's sort of leading one of the carriages, and he just starts going absolutely mental. And then they've obviously got a procedure in place that they just whip them out.
Do they?
Yeah.
What? No, we're not halfway down the straight.
No, as in, sorry, he got in. It was when they'd stopped, in when they're actually in the paddock,
Yeah.
and he starts going mental. And so somebody goes over and starts like undoing all the stuff, and it was all like
And
panic
just whipped it
stations.
out.
Yeah.
I think that must have been another year that I wasn't there.
Really?
Was it 2022?
I don't know.
I just had another baby.
I just remember it and thinking, oh, that horse is never getting to do the Royal Procession again.
Royal Procession is actually a nightmare if you're doing it from a TV point of view, because I've always managed to avoid it. I'm like, no, I've got to go and look at the horses for the first race. And then I think a couple of years ago they made me do it. And I don't enjoy it because
Why?
most of the time, so you get given the list of who's in the Royal Procession at the last minute. So suddenly you've got to like look into who these people are and have something to say about them. And they've all got, they're Lord and Lady this and that, and they're actually not called that because they were that, but they've inherited that title, and then you've got to try and work out who they are. And no, I don't enjoy doing that. Let me talk about the horses and not so much about the people.
Yeah, that I would struggle with that, in fairness. And I'm really bad with just like celebrities, well-known people in general. So
Me
people
too.
will be like, well, that's so-and-so, and I'm thinking, I don't know who they are.
I know. I remember actually Ed Chamberlain, my co-host on ITV, wrote an article for the Daily Mail, I think it was last year or the year before, saying they should open up the kind of list of invitees on the royal carriages to more well-known people, or like a more kind of charitable side of things, just to make the public engage a bit more with who's in the carriages, because often there's quite a lot of repetition who's in there.
Yeah.
But then again, like it's their friends. Like, this is not a royal official engagement going to Ascot for 5 days. It's the friends of the King and the Queen that go to enjoy the races with them. So technically...
And the King and Queen's mates that tend to be a Lord and Lady, so-and-so. It's just
Yeah.
the way it is, isn't it?
Yeah.
I also think, he's got to keep that tradition. Like, I don't know, in a way, if you're royal, and it's your Royal Procession.
And we're actually very lucky that King Charles has kept the tradition going. He has committed to every day of every meeting since he took over in the role.
Did you see that Camilla was up at Hexham the other day?
Was she?
Did you see that? Yeah.
She loves her racing though.
She was up at Hexham opening some stand or doing something. But the point being that I know about this because I'm friends with Rebecca Menzies, who was asked to go for lunch with her with I think it was 4 other people. So she was there as one of the Northern trainers. And when I said to her, what on earth? Like, what is going on? Why are you going to, this is mad. She said it was, she was trying to get a handle on the racing industry, not just at the higher level.
Mm-hmm.
And so they'd had, she was at this lunch that wasn't just a who's who, it was sort of people at every stage in training and every level. And she said it was great. She asked loads of questions, found out loads of stuff. She said it was great.
Well, she is very committed, isn't she? Like, she's the patron of the Ebony Horse Club as well, which is a riding centre in Brixton in the middle of London. And it really caters to allowing kids that grow up that wouldn't naturally have access to horses to be able to ride in inner city environments.
If we're on the Ascot topic, should we just have a little update on how we're doing with fashion?
Yeah. Yeah. Go on then.
Well,
who
again,
goes
to
first?
reiterate the time stamping here, a week and a day to the first day. And I think one top has arrived.
Oh gosh.
I think one top has arrived.
One top that has a bottom with it, or just a random top?
Yeah, that I need to order the skirt for. Actually, that was on today's to-do
Did you not
list.
think you'd order them at the same time?
Well, I actually thought I was going to be able to wear the top with the skirt I already had, and then I tried the skirt on and it looks terrible. I don't know what I was thinking.
Yeah.
And that's a classic example of, because it's a Prada skirt.
Oh, yeah.
And so I was like, well, I want to wear my Prada skirt.
Yeah.
And it's Prada. I kept banging on about being Prada. Who cares what the label is? It looks dreadful.
Yeah.
Take it off immediately.
Separates are so much harder. It's so much easier just to buy one thing.
Yeah.
And it's like, bam, done.
So I think the top has arrived, which means that there's about 10 other items still to arrive, but fingers crossed they will. India Rolt, who I mentioned before, the Millener, she messaged me this morning being like, how are we doing with the outfits? Has anything arrived yet? Sorry, love. So yeah, pretty terribly actually. And also all the outfits I ended up buying, just roll. If anybody hasn't heard, we did discuss this on last week's show. I just do sort of terrible fast fashion, just buy it all the week before. I don't like any of them.
So wait, others have arrived?
No, nothing's arrived. Even whatever, just the top has arrived and I haven't opened it yet.
Okay,
so I
but
haven't
you've
even put it on
ordered
my
other
body.
things and you're waiting for them to arrive, but you don't like them?
No.
What about the really nice stripy dress that you sent me with the big shoulders? You sent me a picture of.
Yeah, too expensive. And also didn't realise it was from, so that was quite expensive, but I did like it enough and you liked it enough that I was kind of like, do you know what, I could, but it was an American, it was a 3-week, it was a wait list.
Could you buy things, wear them and then sell them on Vinted?
Yeah.
So that's a way of
Yeah, but what about you? You don't keep any of your stuff because
I don't keep any of my stuff because I at no point own any of my stuff, which is good and bad because partly people think, oh gosh, you must have the most amazing wardrobe and the most enormous hat collection. I actually own 0 hats. And I don't have a great wardrobe because, like I said, with the relationship with Sarah, my stylist, so how it works is she gets paid a fee and then she has the relationships with the designers, with the PR companies, et cetera, with milliners. So she goes off and finds things. It's a kind of rolling thing throughout the season because there's all the different race meetings throughout the year, but she'd obviously have her eyes out in particular for Ascot stuff because it's got to be that level up when it's Ascot.
Yeah, I mean, you wore to Haydock something that I would wear to Ascot. So
well, exactly. Often I'm like, Sarah, should we not be saving this for Ascot? She's like, no, wear it now.
Haydock wasn't even a Group 1 day, was it? And I saw your outfit. I mean, you looked absolutely banging. Yeah, that was great. Lovely. But I would wear that to, I could have worn that to Royal Ascot, right?
Yeah. Yes, exactly. So often I'm like, no, let's not waste a good outfit on a lesser day. But she always manages to kind of pull rabbits out the bag. And this year we've actually got a few vintage pieces. So she loves vintage. She loves vintage fairs, loves a car boot sale, loves any kind of strange source of clothes. So a couple of vintage pieces. And then there's an amazing designer called Stuart Parvin, who we went to see on Thursday. So literally the day before the Oaks and the Derby, we went there and didn't actually know what I was going to wear the Oaks and the Derby because the weather was so changeable, wasn't it? It was quite cold, quite rainy. And he was like, oh, I'll just whip this up for you. So he had a lovely outfit, pulled it in for us, picked it up that night, wore it on Oaks Day. And same with my Derby Day dress, went to Catherine Walker and they just
that was
found something
that
for
blue.
me. So that was handy. And then he's got a couple of lovely dresses there that I'm going to wear for Ascot. And then we also went to Emmy London, who do amazing shoes.
Everyone says that, and I'm not just saying, I have nothing to do with Emmy, nothing to do, but I just see loads of people telling me they're the most comfortable shoes.
They're so comfortable because they're heels. Often you get a block heel, which is so important for us with the grass, etc. You can get the kind of higher Josie block heels or get lower ones, which are probably more comfortable again. But I've had some of their shoes for years now, 5-6 years. I've worn them on so many different race courses. Actually, Sarah was trying to do the maths of the equivalents of how many marathons I've run in these shoes, walked in these shoes, obviously. But they're great. And actually, all my previous ones have gone off to be refurbished, so I can keep wearing them in the tone of sustainability, etc. And she's very kindly given me some new ones, actually, including these. Don't you like these?
Do you know what? They're really smart and they'd be right up my street, those. I bet you. In fact, I already know that Emmy doesn't do size 9 shoes.
Oh, no, really?
I think so. 43.
For anyone listening, they're a lovely pair of chocolatey brown.
Yeah.
Are they loafers?
Loafers, yeah.
Yeah.
Lovely. They're really nice. You mentioned the Derby there. How was it? Just a little catch up until I saw you.
The Derby was great. There was quite a lot of weather watch around the Derby because it was like, is it going to rain?
At what point is it going to rain?
There was, wasn't it?
Yeah. I mean, Ollie on the opening show, he's like, we're going to get 30 mils before the Derby.
And you were
lightning
and
you
thunder.
Literally looked at him and you were like, are we? What's happening?
I know,
and everyone else was trying to be quite cheery and he was like, 30 mils.
I know. And then we had that quite funny side bet for anyone who wasn't watching. He said, oh, they might come up the stand side rail. And I went, no, I don't think so. And he went, well, they do. They have done in the Oaks. And I'm like, well, they have in the Oaks, but they never have for the Derby because he hadn't quite factored in the fact that they moved the rail down inside to the lower position. So it's further to come to the stand side. And then actually I consulted Lee Mottershead. So between filming that early clip, I went to get a cup of tea and I was chatting to Lee Mottershead and he said, well, funny enough, Michael Church, the official Derby historian, has gone back to 1919 and no horse has come up the stand side rail. I was like, great, my bet is safe here.
So you made a few quid out of Ollie Bell.
So I made a few quid out of him. I didn't back the Derby winner, which is annoying considering I tipped it on the opening show.
I hate it when
I didn't back it. Well, you say I hate it when that happens, but it's not unusual with me because I just don't bet. So it's not a strange occurrence with me. But for once, I was quite smug the fact that I tipped Lambourne to win the Derby. But then Kevin Blake, who was also on the opening show, had the first 3 home. So, blew me out of the water.
Yeah, I spoke to him this morning actually. And I didn't want to make his head too big, but that was pretty impressive from him. Mm-hmm. So you enjoyed it basically, Epsom, all good.
Did enjoy it. And it literally started raining the minute we came off air.
And there probably was, in fairness to Ollie, there probably was 30 mils in that downpour because the heavens opened.
The wrong. Yeah, it was very wet.
Well, whilst you were at Epsom, I was at Bath on the Friday and then Chepstow on the Saturday. And it's always, I think I've said this before, but it's such a strange feeling when you talk about the big meetings, because I do lots of preview content, but then you go for the Sky Sports role, I go bumbling off to Bath and then Chepstow, where, you know, the absolute highlight of the day is a Class 5 handicap. So I had a bit of fun there, but it was fine. No major dramas. I actually had one of those days on air. Do you ever have it? Oh God, that I was late to Bath, which wasn't a problem because I always factor in travel, but our first live times, as we would say, can be moved around a bit on our channel. So it's fine. It wasn't drama, no pressure from the producer. But you know, you just get off on the wrong foot when you're on air, and it just feels like it goes from bad to worse to even worse. Yeah, and I don't know. Do you not have those days? You're looking at me.
I have days where I kind of get there and I'm like, oh, my brain is just not firing as it should. And then I start tripping over my words and then I'm like, oh no.
Yeah.
Then you're aware of having tripped over your words and you're like, don't trip over the next word. And then you do it again. And then, so funny enough, I would always be guilty of like staying up late, over preparing, studying every race.
I thought you were going to say, I would always be guilty of staying up late, partying the night before. I was like, bloody hell.
No,
okay.
I wish. No, but then now I'm like, actually, just go to bed, get a good night's sleep, just make sure your brain is working properly. It is worth so much more.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And yeah, I mean, this is a side note, but I just did have one of those days. And, you know, I've been doing this for years now. I'm not like new to it. But I just had one of those days where I just got off on the wrong foot and then I just couldn't get the whole thing back on.
And then did you think, oh, well, don't worry, everyone's watching the derby?
Yeah, basically. Well, it was the evening meeting, but I was a bit like, do you know what, who's even watching? And then Dad was definitely watching. And then I rolled on to Chepstow the next day. So doing back-to-back days mean that you then have to get up really early to prep the Chepstow, because obviously you haven't prepped the accident in Bath.
Yeah.
And I was really on it at Chepstow. I was like, right, this is going to be better. And then it was better. But it's funny how it doesn't matter. It does matter how long you've been doing it for, because you grow in confidence. But even when you think you're kind of not nailing it, I never go around thinking I've nailed it, but you think you're on a bit, you know, you've got this now, you've got a handle on this job, you can still have an off day.
Actually, how did your first day at
that was great.
In a different role go?
Yeah, so that was really fun. So that was the Saturday before. And that was, I mean, without going into the detail, basically it was just, I was sort of more hosting and then I had a pundit alongside me. So I normally...
you got promotion for the day?
Just a different role, a sort of upgrade, yeah. Because I'm normally just one person on course reporting. And so I moved into the kind of slightly more your role with a pundit, which I hadn't really factored in. I just, you know, I've never broadcast like that before. That's not what I do. I do the solo reporting. So it was a totally different vibe and I loved it. I mean, your job is really easy. Because you get to ask the questions.
Essentially, you ask the questions rather than answering the questions, although reporting's a slightly different one again.
Yeah.
But you prefer that, do you?
Well, I found it hard. Don't get me wrong. I found, because I've never done it before, so I found it totally different. But I did think about, like, you and Alex Hammond would be a really good friend of mine as well. Gina Bryce too, and I suddenly realised, their role is quite different to what I do. Basically,
I find it more challenging. I think because I've always been in the like more pundit role from when I started, so I'm used to being asked my opinions, and probably because I've got a lot of opinions about like the horses, about how I think the race is going to be run, about how they have run and all that. So I want to, in a way, I'm not a great host because I want to get my opinion out, which is not what you should be doing. You should kind of frame your questions well to get the best out of your pundits.
Yeah.
Which
it's hard.
You have to think about it. You're like change the mindset.
Yeah, and you're trying to ask a semi-interesting question.
Yeah. And without answering the question.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So without also just going back to, do you think he'll stay? Do you think he'll, you know, like the ground? I mean, that's just too basic. So you're trying to fluff it out with more. But anyway, it was complex, but I really enjoyed it. Yeah. Don't know if I get the chance to do it again, but bosses seem happy. And so I'm happy.
Good.
So that was great. And then what else have I been up to? The horse arrived, Captain Matan, the Paul Nicholls horse, been talking about a lot. That arrived, but no excitement's there because he's gone straight out on holiday.
Okay.
Giving him 4 weeks of a break before bringing him back in for his retraining. So you'll have
you ridden out yet? Have you done
No, that starts in July because I'm riding out for a national hunt trainer and he doesn't have much in. Sure. So that starts in July. And then the other thing, and I'm like fiercely conscious of the time I am at in my life right now.
Yeah.
I think I'm having some sort of like mid-30s crisis, by the way. I'm just going to be open and honest about this.
Okay.
Yeah.
So not quite a midlife crisis, a mid-30s crisis.
No, well, maybe midlife. I don't know. But basically, the crux of this, I've become obsessed with the rose in my garden.
The rose?
Yeah. I can't stop looking at her. I'm obsessed with her.
Wait, one rose or one rose bush?
Well, As
Do you like your bush?
She's
or
a potted rose plant. She's actually not bush. I'm not into bush. All right. Okay. Just as an FYI.
Solo, a nice velvety rose. Yeah.
Yeah.
What colour?
She's white.
Okay.
She's white, yeah. I've got
Does she
two
have
of
a
them
name?
absolutely. No, she doesn't have a name yet. I'm not that obsessed, but I can't stop looking at her. And I'm obsessing over her. And I just go out there and bloody like spraying her and feeding her.
A bit of rose clear. Chocolate rose clear? Yeah, get rid of the green
and I've got
flies
rose feed on the bottom. And then I was worried she was a bit too wet. And then I was a bit worried she was a bit too dry. I mean, I'm obsessed with her.
Oh, I wouldn't worry too much. Roses are hardy. Really
Are they?
hardy. Oh yeah, so hardy.
Good.
So I've been like doing a load of stuff in my garden because we're like renovating the house completely. And when the like bulldozers and diggers and stuff came in, I was like, oh no, they're going to go straight through a nice patch of roses. So dug them all out, and they were like literally these kind of shriveled stumps. Put them in pots, put some soil in there, gave them the odd bit of water, and now they're like boom, flourishing.
Really? Oh well, that gives me hope.
So wait, you've got one rose.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you need some more roses. You need some variety.
But I
of
do,
roses.
it's amazing. It's like 1 minute, it's like those memes you see on Instagram, right? Like 1 minute you're out, you're partying, you're off your head, you're having a great time and you're in your 20s. And the next minute you're there and you're like
Spraying
going to bed. Literally, I go to bed
rose.
at 9:30 and I get up at 6 and I'm there spraying my rose clear. And it's just like, when did this happen? Like, when did I become middle-aged? I used to be hot. I used to be young, I used to be up and coming, and now I'm middle-aged and I'm not hot and I've plateaued.
Can I just say, I am not getting my little violin out for you because you're at least like 10 years younger than me. You're incredibly beautiful. You're looking like in the form of your life. You're kind of skinnier and fitter than I've ever seen you. You're killing it in your job.
Okay.
You are free and single. You haven't got 3 children hanging off you, and you've got a lot less wrinkles and grey hairs than me. So I wouldn't complain yet.
But
give it another 10 years, and then you can start having a midlife
You're
crisis.
very sweet.
Meanwhile, I do still love roses as well. So that's not a bad thing to have. But basically, I remember when I was younger, my mum trying to like teach me about the garden and stuff, and then take me around antique shops. I was like, bloody hell, this is so boring.
And now
I was like, yeah, I'll be interested in that when I hit middle age. And now, love them. Yeah. I spent most of yesterday morning in a lighting shop. That was exciting.
It's thrilling, yeah, but I love it. But it is interesting, isn't it? In all seriousness, you do just get to a stage, you just wake up one day, kids or no kids, marriage or no kids, just age-wise as a woman, and it's kind of like, wow, I don't know, it just I feel like it's just hit me really.
Do you have like a fear of aging?
Not so much. My mum's an absolute cracker, and she's 40. She's not 40 anything. She had me at 40. She's 73 now. Yeah,
good genes. So like that.
Really good genes. I mean, you've got belting genes as well, so you're fine.
My mum's a bit of a baby.
Yeah, she's a 10. I don't worry so much about aging. I think like aging's a natural thing, and I look at my parents in all seriousness, and my mum is just, you know, she's amazing and she's gorgeous and she's never had any work done. She's not touched her face. And, you know, anybody looks at a photo of my mum and she's like, wow, your mum's a cracker. You know, but the same with your mum.
I know her, yeah.
Yeah, and...
but do you feel the pressure to kind of keep looking young? I mean, I feel like these days, things like Botox are like so widespread that I actually now feel completely in the minority for not having had it.
Are you no Botox?
Yeah.
That's cool.
Well, I mean, you say that, but the problem is,
you look great,
I think I look okay, but the problem is all my contemporaries are now looking younger. Like,
yeah.
And I'm like, hang on, I think I look all right for 42, but now you all look 35, and that's really unfair.
It is. There's definitely a sense of trying to keep up with everyone. I went down the Botox route.
Did you?
Yeah.
Did you? Yeah. Well, it's good Botox. I wouldn't have told.
No, and it's tiny and it's minuscule. Guess where it is in my face?
I can say forehead, like here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why did you have like a frown line?
Yeah, a little bit frowny. So I have like, I mean, sorry, it's like I don't know if you should admit this sort of stuff. It's like secrets, isn't it?
That's all right. Everyone has it.
Everyone has it. So basically, I have a lady who does me these like, and it's very irregular as well because I can't keep up with it. So now I'm kind of like due it. So
how many times a year would it need to be done?
Well, I've only had it 3 times, and I probably started at the start of last year. So yeah, like a couple of times a year.
Yeah.
So I'm going back for this year's Botox on Thursday, ready for Royal Ascot. So get ready.
Great. So you're like even bloody younger.
But I don't know, going back to it feels really weird. You feel like your face has been literally frozen.
Oh, does it?
And I have a tiny amount. I mean, I don't think people would even know that I have it.
No.
And I have this tiny amount. And to be honest with you, definitely actually, if I think about it, it's like, why did you start that? I was never worried about what it looked like in my face. I actually quite like my face. I was never really worried about it. But then I look around at everybody on the television and everyone, you say, all the people, all the Sky Sports girls, they clearly have loads of stuff. Some of them, not everyone. And
throwing them all under the bus.
yeah, everyone's throwing them under the bus. No, I don't mean that. I mean it in, you know, I'm the same. I have too, you know, as in, because you want to try to keep up with everyone, then you don't want to fall behind on how you look.
Yeah. There's good work and then there's bad work. Like I think you can really accidentally go over the top with like lip fillers and cheek fillers and all the rest of it. So it's very clearly like you've had work. I think the little subtle touches do help a lot, and maybe that's something I should look at. But my husband's like, absolutely not. Not that I really kind of ever do what he tells me, but who am I trying to impress? Really, he still loves me, so who cares?
Some husbands I hear are really anti it. I mean, you're the third close person I know who's told me that their husbands are really anti it.
Yeah, but don't you love men though? Men will go, oh God, you know, no boob jobs and fake eyelashes and fake tan, and dreadful. And then some girl walks past with like all the extensions, the tan, the tits, the teeth, and they're like, oh wow, and like, oh come on.
Literally, one of these friends I'm talking about, the same thing with her husband and everything, and it's like that meme that goes around on Instagram, and there's this girl, she's an absolute cracker, and that basically she goes, you know, it's so nice when all these men tell me that it's so great to see such a natural beauty, you know, and I'm such a natural beauty. Little do they know. And then she points to all these parts of her face, and it's like a 10-gram bill at the bottom. Yeah. And you know, that's just men, isn't it? Sorry, we're just categorizing them.
I actually have gone way too far the other way. Like I haven't had my nails painted for the best part of like all year.
You're really low maintenance. I think people would be surprised at how low maintenance you are.
I haven't had a facial in the last like year at least. Like I actually don't think I've even exfoliated my face, which is really bad because my makeup artist was like, I think you need to
scrub off some of that dirt.
I think I managed to book an emergency hair appointment for next week for a trim and a bit of a grey cover up, but that's about it. I don't prioritize it, and I'm actually quite aware of pigmentation.
Oh yeah.
The dark spots, which seemingly is a thing you get more and more with like pregnancy, hormones, etc. But also I don't wear enough SPF, which is something for another day. But anyway,
that's
what basic.
Francesca, we've just managed to breeze past all Royal Ascot chat without actually talking about what horses are running or what's going on. We do have a bit of I was going to say T-junction, it's actually not that, but we have a discussion about how much horse racing chat we're at a crossroads. Well done. Yeah. Yeah. There you go. We're at roundabout. No, we are at a crossroads, I think it is. Because we debate this a lot.
Some feedback, can we?
Give us the feedback, because basically, how much of the actual horsey chat do you want? Because we could do a lot of that, because that's what we do day to day. But do you actually not really, it's hard to get a gauge of what people like.
Right, I know how much Vanessa likes to kind of host the question time thing and get things rolling. But no, I'm going to take control now, because for once I've got my phone next to me and I've got the questions. Okay, there's some good ones here. Thank you everyone for sending in questions. I like this one. Have you ever talked to your horse?
Have I ever talked to my horse? He's the one man in my life I speak to the most.
Does he listen? Is he a good listener?
Yeah, he's an excellent listener. No, I literally talk to my horse. I mean, just to be clear, I drive into my yard and he puts his head over, it's not my yard, the livery yard, puts his head over the stable door like that. And then I'm like, all right, big lad, how you doing? And I wait for him to respond. And then like give him a little pat.
Are you disappointed yet?
No, because then in my head it's clear what he said. And then I go, yeah, I know, bad weather today, pal, but we're going out anyway.
Wait, do you do his side of the conversation as well?
Yeah, in my head, but I say outwardly my side. Okay. Do you not have that? I mean, I don't know if this makes me sound absolutely mental, but as in outwardly, I say what I would say to the horse, and then inwardly, it's like there's a response, and then I respond outwardly again.
No, I can't say I kind of do both sides of the conversation.
Does that make me sound mental? We're going to have to edit that out.
No, you do sound mental, but I like it because you are mental. So we're going to keep that in. I actually, when I was riding out with the racehorses, I used to, poor horses, I used to sing to them. Because when you were going up a canter or a gallop, they can get, you might need this as a tip for when you start riding out, they can get quite keen. And so when you sing, I think it relaxes you and it in turn relaxes them because they kind of have got something to listen to. And poor horses, because I cannot sing a tune.
I can't sing a note either.
But they quite like it. But I think the kind of,
what would you
calms
sing?
You down. Oh, like whatever I'd heard on the radio that morning or something, which actually leads to a different question. What type of music do you listen to?
Oh, that's a great one. I actually don't listen to loads of music, but when I do, it's normally quite retro. Yeah. Listen to a lot of Fleetwood Mac.
Yeah, like
and literally ask any cameraman I work with, because they also think I'm mental. But I'm often, I'd just be there with my microphone and it'll be silence. You know, when you're kind of like in that moment where you're on an ad break or you're not on air. And then I'm just like, tell me lies, tell me sweet little lies. And they're all just like, Vanessa.
Can you sing?
No, I was actually asked.
That didn't sound too bad.
Oh my God, I'm tone deaf. Okay. I was asked to mime in the school choir when I was at school.
Tone deaf or tone deaf? You just say tone deaf. You say tone deaf.
Tone deaf. Stop. I'm so bad with things like that. Okay, I was asked to mime in the school choir by Mr. Marsh ahead of the Christmas Carol concert circa 1997, and it affected my confidence for life.
Seriously?
Yeah, I mean, that's what
everyone else was allowed to sing and you just had to mime the words.
I was left in because I was aesthetically pleasing, right? Because they built the pyramid.
Wait, you were the only girl?
Yeah. No, at the all boys school. And so
school.
Literally they put me in the middle because I'm so tall. So they just used me. They just used me for my height. And then they built the little pyramid around me. And then the day before the Christmas Carol concert, there I am belting out a carol. And Mr. Marsh said to me that I wasn't getting it right and that I had to mime. And from that day forward, I mimed like Britney Spears on crack. And now I go to weddings and carol services and literally I just mime.
Oh my God, on that note, I went to a wedding last weekend and my husband and his friend were like luckily one away from me. But they were singing these hymns so loudly, I was so embarrassed. I was like, Max, what are you doing?
Are you joking?
Well, they had like a whole gospel choir at the front that were doing a pretty good job. But I swear Max and his friend were trying to outdo them. Which was good because it made up for the fact that I cannot sing.
But also, I'm applauding of Max. Yeah. Bravo, Max, because I just think people at weddings, I mean, there I am. I have to mime because of Mr. Marsh. But but everybody else who can sing should sing. Yeah. And people sing really tentatively. Whereas if I ever got married, God forbid, then I definitely...
Can I be there?
Yeah, you'd be invited. Yeah. Great. Who do you think I'll marry?
Oh my God, who do I think you'll marry?
What does he look like in your eyes?
I think he'd have to be tall.
Yeah.
I think he'd be devilishly good looking.
Damn right.
Mm. And he'd have to be up to the challenge.
The challenge?
Up to the challenge.
Right. Excellent. A challenge.
I think he would be a very lucky man, put it that way.
Oh, but, you've clawed that back in.
I will. I just don't think, I know so many like great single women and they go, oh, do you know any nice men? And I'm like, no, like all the good ones are either taken or I just don't know them.
Yeah, you robbed two. Already.
Did I? Anyway, moving on. Oh, I'm not married to two men, by the way. I don't have like a polygamous relationship.
Oh God, do you think that's the end of this show? That's enough questions.
On that note, I think we've had enough for this week, don't you? I mean, we've only had one gin and tonic. We're not even like halfway through those. Well, we are most of the way through. That's been fun. Thank you to Royal Windsor Racecourse, by the way, for having us.
Yeah, and I'm excited that the next time we'll be recording will be post Royal Ascot. So I'm going to have stories to tell.
We need to work out when that one is because we're going to have a big week, you and I, 5 days of Royal Ascot, one day into the next, finishing on the Saturday. So we need to work out when we're going to do our next one. Stories to tell, looking forward to that. You're going to be hosting the Howden box. I'm going to be on duty for ITV every day. Really looking forward to it. Thank you, everybody, for listening, for watching, for coming along with the journey with us. And I'm really bad at doing these really long, waffly, wind-down endings of the show. So goodbye.
For somebody who signs off with regularity to a hard count.
Yeah, I know, but I need a hard count. Yeah, otherwise I just waffle. Ollie should be there like 10, 9, 8.